Welcome to Port Waves. I'm your host, Edna Dominguez, an HR business partner in the Human Resources Division.
And I'm Vicki Gordon, Learning and Development Coordinator in HR. And together, Edna and I will be your hosts.
The scent of pumpkin spice lattes is in the air, which can only mean one thing. It's October.
And if the return of those pumpkin lattes wasn't enough for you, October marks the return of the annual Greenport Fair.
That's right, Vicki. The Greenport Fair is back. The free event is happening on Saturday, October 7th at Harry Bridges Memorial Park next to the Queen Mary. There's going to be free harbor tours, music, performances, and you'll be able to see some of the port's cutting-edge zero-emission technology.
Let's hear from Alejandra Guitron from our Communications Division about this exciting event.
We are super excited to be inviting all of our port colleagues to join us for our second annual Greenport Fair. This year, we've changed the location of the event to be at Harry Bridges Memorial Park, which is a 4-acre park right on the water next to the Queen Mary. So the views are going to be amazing. As you walk in, you're going to enter the equipment zone. We'll be able to showcase a lot of the new zero-emission technology that we are using here at the port to obviously continue to bring business to our port while also lowering the impacts to our environment. So we will be having 3 separate harbor tours. They're hour-long harbor tours for the first 600 guests that arrive. We continue our way into the kids zone. The kids zone is going to have a lot of opportunities for the littles to have a blast. There will be jumpers. So we have jumpers, face painters, tattoo artists, hairspraying to change their hair color. So the little ones are going to have such a great time. We've also added a train that will be going all around the 4-acre park. So it'll be a nice way for parents and kids to go through the entire 4 acres of our event. We are going to have several high school bands that are going to be joining us there, as well as Night Rider and the Greg Young Band. In between some of our music, we will also have community dance groups. One other thing that we've added this year is a Coast Guard demo. So they're going to be coming out on the water, and we'll also have some fireboats out there as well. So all in all, it's going to be super entertaining. There's going to be lots to do. Invite your friends, your family, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks, Alejandra. And speaking of the Greenport Fair, one of the reasons we can celebrate so many accomplishments when it comes to keeping the port clean is because of our environmental planning division. They've been hard at work testing new technologies, finding cleaner ways of managing port operations, and even surveying the local wildlife. I spoke with Port Environmental Specialist Justin Luedy about his team's role in making the Port of Long Beach the green port. Thank you so much for joining us, Justin. I'm so excited to, dive into the world of the port sustainability and all the efforts your team is making. But first, I'd like to learn a little bit more about you and your background. How did you get started into this role?
Okay, well, I guess for me it started with a love of science from a young age. I mean, it was my favorite subject in school, and I always knew I wanted to pursue it in some way. I had a family that really pushed me into medicine and really wanted me to take that route. And then I kind of ran with that and took it sort of my own way. Mm-hmm. So, pursued a marine biology degree as an undergrad. I actually interned with the State Department in Washington, D.C. with the Bureau of Oceans and International Environmental Science. That really opened my eyes to this concept of careers in environmental science, sort of bridging this gap between like international programs, what's going on in the environment, and like where was it going? And it was such a new topic at the time. That internship really kind of launched me into what did I want to do next after undergrad? And for me, that was a master's program in environmental science. So that's really where it started with what kind of opportunities would come for me after, my education. So started work with a nonprofit down in Orange County, doing mostly water quality work, but also developing education programs for primarily low-income high school students in the eastern Orange County region, really exposing them to their natural environment because they didn't have much of that. And so the economy tanked in 2007, as we might remember, and I jumped into an internship at the port. I learned about an opportunity through my science advisor in my grad program. Started with the Port of Long Beach in '07 as an intern, and 15 years
been there
later, here I
since.
am. So
Wow,
that
that's
was my journey.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's great to hear, you've been with the port for so long, and it's great work that you do. What does your work consist of on a day-to-day basis?
So I am the port's biologist, so I mostly focus on biological programs, but I focus on other areas as well. My big effort really is the biological survey or the biosurvey program. We coordinate that every 5 years with the Port of LA, of course, our neighbor and our partner in environmental programs. And so this is a 5-year effort. It takes a long time. It's, and we'll get into the details of biosurvey, but that's a huge effort that I work on throughout that 5-year span with each cycle. And then I also do, the review of biological mitigation for large-scale port development programs and projects, and sort of co-managing from the Harbor Department side of things with the city on local wetland mitigation, restoration efforts in the city of Long Beach. And then I also manage the port's climate change adaptation and coastal resiliency efforts. So the infrastructure side of port planning when it comes to anticipated sea level rise, extreme heat, storms.
Can you tell me a little bit more about those biological programs, specifically the biosurvey? What is it that you research, and can you guide me a little bit of what that is?
Absolutely. So the biosurvey program really is it's a metric that we use to understand the health of our coastal environment here. So our biological communities have changed over time as the port has changed and grown, as environmental regulation has changed in California and federally. I mean, it's been such an evolution really over the last about 40 years. Again, this is a Port of LA, Port of Long Beach, coordination. This is a partnership. So we really work closely with them. Sometimes it feels like they're an extension of our own staff to make sure that the San Pedro Bay is really accounted for and monitored in terms of biological resources. While it's compliance driven, one of the great parts and something I love about the program is that it goes way beyond the compliance. And it really does give us that snapshot in time of how we're protecting our marine resources. That's really what we're charged with, protecting the marine resources for the people of California. And there's always a positive story to tell with every survey.
How has that changed over time since you've started doing that?
Significantly. So we started smaller scale biological surveys in the 80s and the 90s, but really 2000 was this baseline survey. And our methodology has changed significantly over time, but historically we started 2000, 2008, 2013, 2018, and then currently here in 2023, we are in a biosurvey year right now. And so we sample spring, summer, and winter of each of those years. And then, there's a lot of work that goes along, a lot of sort of behind the scenes data, data collection. It's a full year of work, ultimately getting us to a final report that we put publicly out to our community to really show we're complying with all these federal and state environmental programs and regulations, but we've really gone beyond.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. What is the most interesting thing you've seen in these surveys that's come out?
So for me, I think personally, it's just simply the number of species that we're seeing. Those numbers grow and grow and grow, and of course, this is more, greater ship traffic. This was, of course, our 2020 year when we had, we all know the congestion issues, and we had, more and more throughput. I think that's probably the most impressive thing: greater biodiversity, more species that we never would have thought that could be found here.
Unique species you've
Most
seen?
unique. Well, in 2018, or for our 2018 survey, we really kind of revamped some of our methodology, and that was to be both cost effective and mindful of budget, but also, might we get different results? Might we actually capture species that we just maybe had been existing in our harbor for the last 20 or 25 years or more, but we just had never captured in each of these years. And so we saw different types of invertebrates and fish that we had never seen, juvenile Garibaldi, different types of small species of shark. We actually captured pink, green, and white abalone. The white abalone is a federally endangered species, and so we were seeing mollusks and crustaceans and invertebrates that we had just never thought. I mean, when I started my career here 15 years ago, I would never have believed that you would find white, pink, and green abalone in our harbor.
That's astonishing. Just all the stuff you're mentioning is just like, wow. And I know there's so many endangered species, and it's just amazing to hear all the stuff you're mentioning.
Exactly. And, part of our biosurveys also monitor water quality.
Yes.
And so we're able to really see the changes in, improved water and sediment quality over time, and really how that relates to the diversity that we see in the harbor. And so there's been a significant and really positive story to tell each year.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to for the next biosurvey?
Well, we're in a biosurvey year right now, so we just finished. So we did, of course, spring, summer, and winter sampling. Winter technically we call winter because we do survey birds and marine mammals monthly, and so we'll continue that through December, and so that constitutes part of our winter sampling. But we're already seeing, we're in the raw data phase right now. So I work with of course, this all happens with a significant team, biological contractors, really incredible marine scientists out there in the field with us, and so. So far here in 2023, sometimes I'll just get texts from them out in the boat saying, hey, we found this today, and things that are just really exciting. And so we're already seeing greater diversity this year, a larger number of species. Our kelp and our California kelp and our eelgrass coverage we're already seeing significant increase in that, which of course is a sign of water quality and sediment quality. We saw some horn sharks out last week, and we're already talking about 2028. That will be our next
you're always
biosurvey
planning
year.
ahead, right?
You got to plan ahead. We're doing lessons learned. What can we change? How can we modify our methodology? How can we be better? How can we also be more cost effective? These are expensive surveys, and so we're already thinking about 2028. And I think I'd like to start looking at climate impacts too. So we're already seeing warmer water, extreme heat, storms. We just had a really, really abnormally wet spring, as we all know. What does that really mean for water quality? How might that change the data over time? And so for 2028, I'm excited to see some of how we might actually modify that and look at climate impacts in the region and what that might mean for our biological community.
For you, what is the most rewarding part of your role? I know you said you've been doing it for years, so.
I love that this type of work gets to show, of course, our staff and our board, but also our community that we're doing something right, that we are stewards of this environment. We're going way beyond the compliance, and really it's telling a story with each survey. We're going to be showcasing our biosurvey program at this year's Greenport Fair on the 7th of October, and so this really is the great part of my job, because it's sort of there's that public outreach element. There's that great marine science that I love and get to manage, and it kind of keeps me close to something I love. It's hard to do sometimes in public service, right? We're compliance driven, we're administrative in so many ways, and public agency staff don't always get these opportunities. So I'm really grateful I get to participate in field work. I get to review those reports and review the data with my consultant team, tell that message to our community, get the word out there. Of course, our communications team is so excellent working with us to put that message out, and really, everything they do is so great with branding and with messaging. And so that really is probably the best part of my work.
And lastly, I want to know, if someone wants to get into this kind of work, what can they do to get started?
Okay, well, the environmental the environmental policy science studies realm is growing and growing. This is a burgeoning world. When I started work, in 2003, I guess, when I really kind of jumped into environmental science, it was really small and there wasn't a lot going on, and it didn't feel like there was a lot of opportunity. Over the last 15, 20 years, there's so much more work to be done, especially here in California. This is the place to be. It's what brought me here for grad school and beyond, and so I think my advice is really explore what works for you if you want to pursue environment, because you might like urban planning, you might be in the policy side of things, you might be like me and really take that sort of science-driven route. We have, public health folks in our team. There are so many backgrounds with the work that we do, and you can really apply that to all sorts of science and policy and planning. Of course, planning is itself a huge field, and so my advice, I guess, would be to, pursue an element of that really works for you, and maybe that's public service, maybe it's private, maybe it's nonprofit. I loved my nonprofit work, and I'm so grateful for that. Was my beginning, and so don't be afraid to intern. I interned 4 different times before the port. Actually, the port was my 4th internship. So some might say that's not great advice, but I think interning is a great way to get the experience, work with staff, experienced folks who are doing that work. So I guess that'd be my advice more for the younger folks. And then, don't be afraid to make a change. Easier said than done for some, but yeah.
Thank you, Justin, and thanks to your team for all the great work you do.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Port Waves. Thank you, Justin, for being part of this episode. We've got some thrilling plans lined up for October. It is that time of year, teammates. Halloween trick-or-treat roundup is back. Stay tuned for more information and updates from training and development. Also, join the Employees Club for their fall bowling on Friday, October 27th at Cowbowl. Be sure to RSVP promptly and reach out to Jose Cruz for more information.
And if you're taking a trip on behalf of the port, you'll want to listen to our next guest. Research and Protocol Analyst Christina Skacan has an important update on how business travel is being handled here at the Port of Long Beach.
Thank you, Edna, and thank you, Port Waves, for letting me, Christina Skacan, from the board staff, talk about Concur. Concur is the new online travel booking tool available to Port teammates. Since the board approved a second vendor for travel service, in March, we have added Concur as a website which Port teammates can go to externally and book air, ground transportation like rail or car rental, and hotel. What makes Concur handy is it is optimized for business travel. It's designed for the kind of travel packaging together multiple travelers, multiple aspects of travel all at once, and not only optimized for price, but also for the kind of facilitation that will help Port teammates with our current policy. For example, when you search in Concur, not only is it optimized by price and schedule, but it provides a way Port teammates can gather the estimates they need for their travel request and expense report. So even before they book, they can do their research in Concur. No policy changes will ensue. The way the Port handles expense and invoicing now is exactly the same. We merely have added a second new contractor who features Concur as a tool which Port teammates can choose to use. And so by booking online, teammates might be able to save time, save documents that later will be very handy when they're providing their expense reports or when they're requesting the approval for their upcoming travel. No policy changes will ensue, so that means we remain with Munis and we submit just as we always have. There are really three roles in Concur: the traveler, who is the user; the POLB assistants, who, for each division, handle travel for the members of their division; and then the board staff, because we administer the contract for the port, we are the administrators. On the Concur website, those teammates who've already explored it know we have tools, guides, contact information, the fees. All of that is posted, so there's plenty of how-to information, including a Port of Long Beach guide with some of our tips that are geared specifically for our Port teammate use. So we encourage teammates to ask their division travel arrangers for Concur information, and of course to definitely reach out with questions as they begin their Concur adventures.
Thanks, Christina. There will be more information on Concur on our new internet platform. More details on that in the next edition of Port Waves.
Now it's birthday time. This month we are wishing a happy birthday to Cesar Arciniega in Information Management,
Chris Berry in Communications,
Sean Gamet in Executive,
Cesar Larios in Construction Management,
and Jesse Fernandez in Security. Let's also welcome the newest addition to the Port family, Jonathan Leon, Administrative Intern in Construction Management.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Port Waves. If you have ideas for future episodes or any feedback, please email us at traininganddevelopment@polb.com. And be sure to keep an eye out for Port Waves Episode 7 coming to you in November.
Port Waves is made possible by your host, Vicki Gordon
And Edna Dominguez, and is produced by the Communications Division's Chris Berry and Kevin Walker.